How rich people think about time versus money. The 10-second decision framework. Introduction. The billionaire paradox. Picture this. Richard Branson gets a call about buying an airline. 10 seconds later, he says yes. Meanwhile, you're standing in Starbucks for 5 minutes, trying to decide between a latte and a cappuccino. What's wrong with this picture? Here's what nobody tells you about wealthy people. They don't think slower about big decisions. They think faster. Way faster. Warren Buffett once said, "I never have to think about a decision for more than 5 minutes." Jeff Bezos bought Whole Foods for $13.7 billion and made the decision in a single meeting. Elon Musk decided to buy Twitter while sitting on his couch. Well, let me ask you something. How long did you spend choosing your last Netflix show? How about deciding where to go for dinner last weekend? I bet it was longer than Bezos spent deciding to revolutionize grocery delivery. Sound crazy? Here's the thing. It's not about being reckless. It's about having a completely different relationship with time and money than the rest of us. Most people think time equals money. Rich people know better. They know time creates money, but only if you use it right. And the biggest secret? They've already made most of their decisions before they need to make them. Think about that for a second. While you're weighing pros and cons, they've already run the numbers, built the framework, and loaded the decision tree. When opportunity knocks, they're not scrambling to figure out what to do. They already know. So here's my question for you. What if you could think about time and money like a billionaire? What if you could make decisions in seconds instead of hours? What if every choice you made was automatically aligned with building wealth instead of wasting it? That's exactly what we're going to explore today. I'm going to show you the hidden decision-making system that separates the wealthy from everyone else. And more importantly, I'm going to give you the exact framework to start using it yourself. Ready? Let's dive in. Chapter 1. The Speed of Wealth. Why Rich People Decide Fast. Let me tell you about the day Jeff Bezos almost missed out on Amazon. It was 1994. Bezos was working at a hedge fund in New York, making great money. He came across a statistic that the internet was growing at 200-300% per year. Most people would have spent weeks researching, making spreadsheets, talking to advisors. Bezos made the decision to quit his job and start an online bookstore during a single car ride across the country. Here's what's fascinating. It wasn't reckless. It was systematic. Bezos had already built what he calls his regret minimization framework. He'd already decided that when he was 80, he'd regret chances not taken more than chances that failed. The decision was already made. The opportunity just triggered it. This is the first secret of wealthy thinking. They don't make decisions in the moment. They make decision frameworks ahead of time. Think about it like this. When you're hungry and standing in front of a menu, that's the worst time to decide what to eat. You're tired, your blood sugar's low, everything looks good. Rich people don't do this with money decisions. Warren Buffett has what he calls his circle of competence. He's already decided what types of businesses he understands and what types he doesn't. When someone brings him a tech startup, he doesn't spend hours analyzing it. It's outside his circle. Decision made in seconds. Here's where it gets interesting. Buffett's partner Charlie Munger once said, "The first rule of compounding is to never interrupt it unnecessarily." They've pre-decided that time spent on bad decisions is time stolen from good ones. Let me give you a real example. In 2008, during the financial crisis, while everyone else was panicking and spending months deciding whether to buy or sell, Buffett was writing checks. He invested $5 billion in Goldman Sachs in a single day. Another $3 billion in GE a few weeks later. Was he lucky? No. He'd already decided years earlier that financial panics create opportunities. He'd already set aside capital. He'd already identified the strongest companies that would survive. When the crisis hit, he wasn't making new decisions. He was executing old ones. Now contrast this with how most people handle money decisions. Someone offers you a great investment opportunity. What do? You start from scratch. You Google the company, call your friends, maybe read some articles, sleep on it, think about it more, maybe ask more people. By the time you decide, the opportunity is gone. Or worse, you're so mentally exhausted from the decision that you make a poor choice just to end the process. Here's the brutal truth. Decision fatigue makes you poor. Every minute you spend redeciding things you could have pre-decided is a minute stolen from wealth creation. Steve Jobs understood this. That's why he wore the same outfit every day. Not because he was weird, because he'd calculated that the mental energy saved on clothing decisions could be redirected to Apple decisions. Mark Zuckerberg does the same thing. Same gray t-shirt, every day. He once said, "I really want to clear my life to make it so that I have to make as few decisions as possible about anything except how to best serve this community." But here's what's really interesting. It's not just about clothes. Rich people systematically eliminate small decisions to preserve mental energy for big ones. They eat the same breakfast, drive the same route to work, have the same morning routine. Not because they're boring, but because they understand something crucial. Willpower and decision-making ability are finite resources. Every trivial choice you make depletes your ability to make important ones well. So let me ask you this. How many decisions did you make before 10 a.m. today? What did you wear? What did you eat? Which route did you take? What podcast did you listen to? Rich people have eliminated 80% of those decisions through systems and pre-planning. That mental energy goes toward decisions that compound wealth. Here's your first action item. For the next week, track every decision you make. Not just the big ones, everything. What you wear, what you eat, what you watch, what you buy. At the end of the week, I want you to see how much mental energy you're burning on decisions that don't matter. Because here's the thing. Every moment spent deciding between similar options is a moment not spent creating options. And that brings us to the next level of wealthy thinking. Chapter 2, The Preloaded Framework, How Billionaires Think Ahead. Elon Musk was asked once how he decides which companies to start. His answer shocked everyone. I don't decide which companies to start. I decide which problems need solving, then work backwards. Think about that for a moment. While most entrepreneurs are looking for opportunities, Musk has already identified the biggest problems facing humanity: sustainable energy, space colonization, urban transportation, artificial intelligence, safety. Every business decision flows from that framework. Tesla? Sustainable energy. SpaceX? Space colonization. Neuralink? AI safety. Boring Company? Urban transportation. He's not making new decisions. He's executing a master plan he designed years ago. This is what I call preloaded thinking, and it's how every wealthy person I've studied approaches major decisions. Let me give you another example. In 2013, Warren Buffett made a bet that shocked Wall Street. He wagered $1 million that a simple S&P 500 index fund would outperform a collection of hedge funds over 10 years. Everyone thought he was crazy. How could he be so confident? Simple. He'd already done the math. For decades, he'd already studied performance data, fee structures, and market behavior. The bet wasn't a gamble. It was the logical conclusion of a framework he'd been building for 50 years. And guess what? He won by a landslide. Here's what's fascinating about wealthy decision-making. They don't see individual choices. They see systems. When Ray Dalio built Bridgewater Associates into the world's largest hedge fund, he didn't make investment decisions. He built decision-making principles. Over 200 of them. Things like pain plus reflection equals progress. Be radically transparent. Don't let loyalty stand in the way of truth. Every choice the company makes gets filtered through these pre-established principles. It's like having a GPS for decisions. You don't need to figure out the route every time. You just need to know where you're going. Here's where it gets really interesting. Rich people don't just have frameworks for business. They have them for everything. Take Bill Ackman, the billionaire investor. He has a simple framework for personal purchases. Will this purchase make me more effective at creating value? If yes, he buys it immediately, regardless of price. If no, he doesn't buy it, regardless of how cheap it is. Private jet makes him more effective by saving time. Immediate yes. Expensive watch doesn't make him more effective. Automatic no. Decision isn't about the money. It's about the framework. Now, let me show you something that will blow your mind. Mark Benioff, founder of Salesforce, keeps what he calls his shortlist. It's a document with 20 potential companies he might acquire, complete with valuations, strategic fit analysis, and integration plans. When opportunities arise, he's not starting from zero. He's already done 80% of the work. That's how Salesforce has successfully acquired over 60 companies, while their competitors are still trying to figure out their first deal. Here's another example that might surprise you. Oprah Winfrey has a decision framework for every opportunity that comes her way. Does this align with my mission to help people live their best lives? Book club selection? Filtered through the framework. TV show ideas? Framework. Investment opportunities? Framework. Speaking engagements? Framework. She said that this single filter has saved her from countless bad decisions and allowed her to say yes instantly to the right ones. But here's what's really powerful about preloaded frameworks. They don't just speed up decisions. They improve the quality of decisions. When you're making choices in the moment, you're influenced by emotions, incomplete information, and whatever happened to you that day. When you're following a pre-established framework, you're leveraging your best thinking from your clearest moments. Think about it like this. Would you rather make investment decisions when the market is crashing and you're panicked, or based on principles you developed during calm, rational moments? The wealthy choose option 2 every time. Now, let me tell you about the most powerful framework I've ever encountered. It comes from Jeff Bezos, and it's called the Type 1 versus Type 2 Decision Matrix. Type 1 decisions are irreversible, or nearly irreversible. These need careful consideration. Type 2 decisions are reversible. These should be made fast, even if you don't have complete information. Most people treat every decision like Type 1. That's why they're slow. Rich people correctly categorize decisions and adjust their speed accordingly. Hiring someone? Type 2, you can always fire them if it doesn't work out. Buying a company? Type 1, much harder to undo. Choosing a restaurant? Type 2. Getting married? Type 1. The key insight? About 80% of the decisions you make daily are Type 2, but you're probably treating them like Type 1. Here's your homework. I want you to create your first preloaded framework. Pick one area of your life where you make frequent decisions. Could be what to invest in, what opportunities to pursue, what to buy, what to say yes to. Write down 3 to 5 criteria that matter most to you in that area. Then, for the next month, filter every decision in that category through those criteria only. Watch what happens. You'll be amazed how much faster and better your decisions become. But speed is just the beginning. The real magic happens when you understand the next principle. Chapter 3. The Rapid Execution System. When good enough beats perfect. Reid Hoffman, founder of LinkedIn, has a saying that every entrepreneur should memorize. If you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late. This isn't about being sloppy. It's about understanding something most people miss. In a world that's moving fast, perfect is the enemy of profitable. Let me tell you a story that perfectly illustrates this. In 2004, Mark Zuckerberg was a college student with an idea for a social network. He could have spent months perfecting it, researching competitors, raising funding, hiring designers. Instead, he spent 2 weeks building a basic version and launched it. It was rough, buggy, and had limited features. But it worked. And more importantly, it was first. While his competitors were still planning their perfect platforms, Facebook was gaining users, gathering data, and improving rapidly. By the time better versions launched, Facebook had already won. This is what I call the 80% principle, and every wealthy person I know lives by it. The principle is simple. When you're 80% ready, act. The remaining 20% will figure itself out through action, not planning. Here's why this works. Information you get from the real world is always better than information you get from thinking about the real world. Warren Buffett puts it this way: I'd rather be approximately right than precisely wrong. He'd rather make a good decision quickly than a perfect decision slowly. But here's where most people mess this up. They think 80% means being careless. Rich people know 80% readiness requires more preparation, not less. Let me explain. When Elon Musk decided to build electric cars, he didn't start from zero. He'd already spent years thinking about sustainable energy. He'd already identified that batteries were the key constraint. He'd already researched the auto industry's weaknesses. When he was ready to act, he wasn't 80% ready on everything. He was 100% ready on the things that mattered most, and willing to figure out the rest as he went. The difference is crucial. Wealthy people over-prepare on the big decisions and under-prepare on the small ones. Most people do the opposite. Here's a perfect example. When Amazon decided to enter cloud computing with AWS, they didn't build the perfect system first. They built a basic system that worked for their own needs, then gradually opened it to other companies. Today, AWS generates more profit than all of Amazon's retail operations combined. If they'd waited to build the perfect cloud platform, Google or Microsoft would have beaten them to market. This is what I call progressive perfection. You start with good enough, then improve through iteration. But here's the secret weapon of rapid execution. Wealthy people don't just tolerate imperfection, they budget for it. When Richard Branson starts a new Virgin company, he assumes the first version will need major changes. He builds that assumption into his planning and funding. That's why Virgin can launch new ventures faster than competitors. They're not trying to get it perfect up front. Now let me share something that completely changed how I think about decision speed. Naval Ravikant, the famous angel investor, was asked how he makes investment decisions so quickly. His answer, I don't make the decision when I meet the entrepreneur. I make the decision when I develop my investment thesis. Think about that. He spends time up front developing his beliefs about what makes a successful company. Then, when he meets entrepreneurs, he's not making an investment decision. He's pattern matching against his pre-established thesis. If the pattern matches, he invests immediately. If it doesn't, he passes immediately. No overthinking required. This is exactly how all wealthy people operate. They do the hard thinking once, then apply it quickly over and over. Here's what's really interesting. This doesn't just work for business decisions. It works for everything. Take Tim Ferriss, author of The 4-Hour Workweek. He has a decision framework for every opportunity that comes his way. Will this create a lasting positive impact while requiring minimal ongoing maintenance? Book writing? Yes, creates lasting impact, minimal maintenance after publication. TV show hosting? No, requires ongoing maintenance. Podcast? Yes, scales well with minimal per episode work. The framework makes the decisions automatic. Here's another example that might surprise you. Tony Robbins charges $1 million for private coaching. How does he decide who to work with? Simple framework. Are they committed to implementing, not just learning? If someone just wants advice, he refers them to his programs. If they want transformation and will act on guidance he says yes. The decision happens in the first 5 minutes of conversation. Now, here's your assignment, and this one might be uncomfortable. I want you to make your next 3 decisions in under 60 seconds each. Not life-changing decisions, but the kind you'd normally spend 20 minutes on. What to have for lunch, which route to take home, what to watch tonight. Notice what happens. You'll probably make perfectly fine choices, much faster than usual. And you'll free up mental energy for decisions that actually matter. Here's the truth. 90% of your daily decisions have roughly equivalent outcomes. The wealthy know this and refuse to waste mental energy optimizing between similar choices. But the real magic happens when you apply this thinking to bigger decisions. Chapter 4. Your Decision Transformation. Building Your Wealth Framework. All right, let's get practical. Everything we've talked about is useless unless you can apply it to your actual life. So let me give you the exact system I use and that I've taught to hundreds of successful people. First, let's start with a reality check. Pull out your phone and look at your screen time from last week. How many hours did you spend on social media? How many times did you pick up your phone? How much time did you spend browsing Netflix or YouTube without knowing what you wanted to watch? I'm not judging. We all do it. But here's what that represents. Decision fatigue in action. Every swipe, every scroll, every random click is your brain making micro-decisions. And each one depletes your mental energy for decisions that actually matter. The wealthy have figured out how to systematically eliminate these energy drains. Let me show you how. Step 1. The decision audit. For the next week, I want you to carry a small notebook or use your phone to track every decision that takes you more than 30 seconds. Not just the big ones, everything. What to wear. Write it down. What to eat for breakfast. Write it down. Which email to answer first. Write it down. What route to take to work. Write it down. At the end of the week, you'll have a list. And I guarantee you'll be shocked at how many decisions you're making that don't actually matter. Here's what you're looking for. Patterns. Decisions you make over and over again that could be systematized or eliminated entirely. Step 2. The 3-bucket system. Once you have your list, sort every decision into one of 3 buckets. Bucket 1. High-impact decisions. These significantly affect your wealth, health, or relationships. Examples: job changes, investment choices, who you spend time with. Bucket 2. Medium-impact decisions. These matter, but aren't life-changing. Examples: what car to buy, where to live, what courses to take. Bucket 3. Low-impact decisions. These have minimal long-term consequences. Examples: what to wear, what to eat, what to watch. Here's the key insight. Wealthy people spend 80% of their decision energy on Bucket 1, 15% on Bucket 2, and 5% on Bucket 3. Most people do the opposite. Step 3. Building your decision templates. Now, for each category where you make frequent decisions, create a template. This is where the magic happens. Let me give you some examples. Investment template. Does this fit my risk tolerance? Do I understand the business model? Is the potential return worth the potential loss? Does this diversify or concentrate my portfolio? If it meets all criteria, invest immediately. If not, pass immediately. Opportunity template. Does this align with my 5-year goals? Will this teach me valuable skills? Does this expand my network in a meaningful way? Is the time investment proportional to the potential return? Purchase template for anything over $100. Will this make me more effective at my work? Will this improve my health or relationships? Will this save me more time than it costs? Will I still be glad I bought this in a year? The key is to do this thinking once, when you're calm and rational, then apply it quickly when opportunities arise. Step 4. The 24-hour rule. Here's a simple but powerful framework for categorizing decision speed. Decisions under $100 or 1 hour of your time. Decide immediately. Decisions between $100 to $1,000 or 1 to 10 hours of your time. Sleep on it. Decisions over $1,000 or 10+ hours of your time. Give it a week. Here's the twist. Set a timer. When the time is up, you must decide. No extensions. This prevents analysis paralysis while ensuring you don't rush into big decisions. Step 5. The weekly decision review. Every Sunday, spend 15 minutes reviewing the decisions you made that week. Ask yourself, which decisions took longer than they should have? Which decisions could I have automated or eliminated? Which decisions would I make differently if I could do them again? What patterns do I notice in my decision-making? This isn't about beating yourself up. It's about continuously improving your decision-making system. Step 6. The power of default choices. Here's a secret that will save you hours every week. Create default choices for repetitive decisions. Default breakfast. Default workout routine. Default evening routine. Default response to common requests. Steve Jobs didn't just wear the same clothes. He systematized his entire day to eliminate decision fatigue. You don't have to go that far, but pick your top 5 most frequent decisions and create defaults for each. Your 30-day challenge. I'm going to give you a challenge that will transform how you think about decisions forever. For the next 30 days, I want you to practice the 10-second rule for all bucket 3 decisions. Give yourself exactly 10 seconds to choose, then move on. Restaurant menu? 10 seconds. Netflix show? 10 seconds. What to wear? 10 seconds. Here's what you'll discover. Your choices will be just as good as if you'd spent 10 minutes, but you'll have hours more mental energy for decisions that actually matter. Compound effect. Here's the beautiful thing about decision optimization. It compounds. Every mental cycle you save on trivial choices is a cycle you can invest in wealth-building decisions. Let's do some quick math. If you save just 30 minutes a day from faster decision-making, that's 182 hours per year. If you invest that time in learning new skills, building relationships, or creating value, what would that be worth to your career? For most people, it's worth tens of thousands of dollars per year. For some, it's worth millions. Your action plan. Here's what I want you to do before tomorrow. Start your decision audit today. Create one decision template for your most frequent choice. Implement the 10-second rule for at least one category of decisions. Set up a simple system to track your progress. Remember, the goal isn't to make perfect decisions. It's to make good decisions quickly, consistently, and with minimal energy expenditure. Because here's the truth. While you're spending an hour deciding between 2 similar options, wealthy people have already made 3 decisions and moved on to creating value. The difference compounds. Every single day. Final thoughts. Think back to that story I told you at the beginning. Richard Branson deciding to buy an airline in 10 seconds. Now you know it wasn't reckless. It was systematic. He'd already thought through his investment criteria. He'd already decided what industries interested him. He'd already calculated his risk tolerance. When the opportunity appeared, he wasn't making a new decision. He was executing a pre-made one. That's the power of thinking like a billionaire about time and money. You don't make better decisions by thinking longer. You make better decisions by thinking systematically. And you know what? This is just the beginning. Once you master rapid decision-making, you unlock something even more powerful, the ability to act on opportunities while others are still thinking about them. In a world where speed matters more than ever, that might be the most valuable skill you can develop. So here's my final question for you. What decision have you been putting off that you could make right now, with the information you already have? Don't wait until tomorrow. Don't wait until you have more information. Don't wait until you feel ready. Think like a billionaire. Make the decision. Start building the life you actually want. The clock is ticking, but now you know how to use every second wisely. That's how rich people really think about time and money. And now, so do you.